So I work in Adobe Photoshop and also Adobe Illustrator. Most of my Georgia cartoons are going to be done in Photoshop. I started off in Illustrator and slowly moved to Photoshop because I like the colors and the drawing and the brushes that you can get in Photoshop. So what I normally do is I'm going to start with a circle. I always start with a circle. That's going to be the bulldog head. Let's draw his neck. If you notice, I'm just very rough, very rough. Big shoulders. And I want to have him running. I'm going to have him running, and I'm going to have the Clemson Tiger like in his hand. There's going to be his hand, and put the Clemson Tiger head right there. Maybe the body coming out this way. Let's draw the helmet. Now a bulldog, I focus a lot on the bulldog, on his jaw, his jowls and his jaw, because it protrudes and it makes him look tough, makes him look mean. So that's going to come out this way, and I'm going to put a little grin on him. Then his eyes are going to be tucked back into the helmet some. And then a hole in the side where his ears are going to be coming out. That ear's a little too big, so let's take it down a little bit. It looks rough, but that's the way it's supposed to be. And sometimes I get a little carried away with my sketching, so I'll come in here and erase that. So I can see a little better. Okay, and then the Georgia logo is going to go right there. Alright, so I got his head, and I usually put some type of spiked collar on him right there. His neck a little thicker. V-neck coming down. This is going to be his hand. And his other arm's going to be coming out this way. Fist. Alright, upper body. Now let's work on his legs a little bit. Now his legs, I tend to get a little exaggerated with his legs sometimes. I like to put his legs up like he's really running, and then the pads, and then his other leg's gonna come back there. And his foot. Laces. Let's draw his fist here. Sometimes I'll put wristbands on him. And that's him, basically, his basic form. I'll put socks on him. Now the tiger, let's worry about the tiger. Now the tiger, I tend to have a little fun with because I like to make them look scared. That's the bulldog fist. I'm gonna put a little claw right there. Now, if you notice, I like to make the bulldog muscular, and I like to make the opposing team, I always try to put a little belly on him. Not as muscular as the bulldog, of course. Put his feet flaring out. Now his arms. Sometimes I like to come in here and just erase some of these lines so I can see a little better because I get carried away with my sketching. Kind of helps me see when I go in and create line art, when I go over it with a black line. It helps me see a little better. And his tail. Now, I'll add some hair. Now, as far as the details, some cleats. I'm not real accurate with my cleat number. I don't know how many cleats are on a shoe, but just to give the idea. And then one thing that I like to do is do shoelaces. That just kind of helps give the look that he's running fast, his shoelaces are coming untied, or and there you have it. That's your basic sketch. Oh, and the face guard. Put the face guard in there, and that's the basic sketch of the bulldog. And then once I get that down, if I like the way it looks, then I will stop. And sometimes I'll come in here like his head might need to be a little bigger sometimes. Like make it looks a little bigger there. And there you have it. There's the sketch, and what I'll do next is I'll create another layer, and then I will go over it with a darker line. Let's see. Yeah. Take it down a little bit. So then I'll go over it with a black line like that. And then I'll go over the sketch. So there's my sketching process. Next will be the line art process. So there you have the line art, and if you noticed, I went in and as I'm doing the line art, I will do some details and add some hair sticking out. And I'll do the little details from now on. As I see something that needs to be done, I'll add it. But the details really kind of add to it. And if you notice, I use a lot of black. I like for shadows and stuff. I like to use black. If something is towards the back, like this foot over here, this foot right here is in the back, so I'll tend to use some black to kind of push it towards the back. This leg, so that is the line art right there. Now what I can do is I can take away my sketch. Now you can see the line art. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll thicken up my pen, and what I like to play around with line weights, how thick the lines are. Sometimes I do like to go out my outside lines. Anything that needs to be emphasized, I'll put maybe a little thicker line on it, just because it makes it stand out a little more. And it's usually muscles on the bulldog or his chin, stuff like that. On the tiger. But if you play around with how thick your lines are, they can add some depth to your cartoon. Tiger's eyebrows and tiger's eyes, I'll do sometimes. Yeah. So there you go. There's your line art. Now the next thing is what I'll do is I'll do another layer, and I will color it. And what I do is I do the coloring. I use a different brush for the coloring because I like the way this color looks. It's got a watercolor. It's got a watercolor look to it. I can do some, it's got a textured look to it, watercolor look to it. I like that. I like that style. So that now what I'll do next is start coloring it. There's your color piece right there, and I think I'm pretty much done. The only last thing I have to do is I go in and I add a background, usually just some green grass, very rough. I like to focus on the characters, so I just kind of put a rough background, just some color in the back, just to kind of make the characters pop a little bit. And any final details that I want to add, any hair or just some little dirt marks popping up, maybe some scratches on the tiger, whiskers. And then a few motion marks, just to kind of give it the final touches. And that is a Georgia cartoon. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and visit my Etsy store if you're interested in any Georgia prints. And go dogs!